To explain how to work with the hunspell, I've created a small project using a document translating from Esperanto World into English Europe. It's an Alice in Wonderland story, and I'll just give a quick plug to Andres Farkas, who very nicely has created some bilingual pairs available in lots of languages, which he has on his website here. So if you're looking for ways to do quick tests and looking for bilingual text and things, you could do far worse than having a look at here. It's a bit of fun, a bit more interesting. And I came down here, and under Esperanto I could take Alice's Adventures in Wonderland into all those different languages, and then I just picked the Esperanto and English and converted it into a translation memory using the glossary converter. And then I took the source text in Esperanto and translated into English. So that's where I got my material from. Now back to the point, what I've done is now I've got that file. If I open it up, I will assume that I've been doing this for real and I'm translating my file. I'm going from Esperanto into English Europe, and when I come to do my spell check, I click on the review, and of course, because I'm using Microsoft Word, I'm seeing that the Czech spelling language is not supported. So I think, okay, let's have a go at the hunspell dictionaries. So I go to my file, options, up to the editor, then spelling, and I change this to the hunspell spell checker. All these things are fine, I'll leave those there. There's a few more settings if you use hunspell compared to Microsoft Word, because when you use Word, the spell check settings are taken from Microsoft Word itself. If you use hunspell, you have similar options that you can use here inside Studio. So I click on OK, but it hasn't actually made any difference. I still can't see the languages. It's still not supported even with hunspell. So I think, okay, I'm going to add a new dictionary. I'm going to create a dictionary for spelling into English Europe. So I close Studio for this because I need it to reload all the languages. And the first thing I do is I just open up two windows. I do this because it's just a bit easier to move files backwards and forwards between the two. In Windows Explorer, I just press Windows, the Windows key followed by an E, if anybody wondered how to do that, which is a shortcut for opening up Microsoft Windows. Opening up File Explorer. I then on one side pick one of the articles, and I'll take the Alice in Wonderland one, and I've created a folder in here called hunspell. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the files I need to edit into here, because I'll be able to edit them in here without requiring administrative rights. And that's because the files I need come from the program files directory in Studio. So I go down to SDL Trados Studio, up to Studio 2015, then hunspell dictionaries, and you can see I have all the dictionaries in here. Now I'm going to English Europe. So as a basis, I'm going to take one of the English as an initial flavour for that. I'll take English GB on the basis that Britain is closer to Europe than probably any of the other English flavours. Or maybe Jersey is debatable. We'll take ENGB because I don't think there is a dictionary for Jersey anyway. So I copy those two. Take that. And I'm also going to take the config file. So if I sort by type and then go down to the bottom, the last one is an XML file beginning with X. I copy that and I put this in here as well. The reason I'm doing that is just because if I try to edit the file in here, I could do it, but if I do it, it's going to ask for ask me to have administrative rights all the time. So it's easier for me to play around with the files in here where I don't need to have administrative rights. So what I'm going to do, as explained in the article, is first of all I'm going to rename these two files with the culture identifier, the LCID code for English Europe. And the easiest way for me to get that is if I go back to, well, I won't open Studio yet, but if I go back up to here where I can see my Studio files, you can see that because it was a single file project, Studio actually used the culture identifiers at the end of my file name. So my file name was just Esperanto to English, but it's added EO-001 for Esperanto and EN-150 for English Europe. Clearly we're running out of easy ways to write this now, so we're using complicated numbers, which is fairly meaningless, but that's EN-150. So I come back to my hunspell and I rename these files appropriately, paying attention to the fact, paying attention to whether they have underscores or hyphens or anything like that. In this case, both of them have an underscore. It's interesting because it's a bit different to what's in the config file, but nonetheless, let's just run with this. So I'm going to go for right click, rename that file. Rename the file, and I'm going to call it en_150, and this one is en_150 as well. So that's my af and dic files. What I'm then going to do is edit my config file accordingly. So I'm going to right click on that and edit it. If you use Notepad++, you can edit it in that. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to edit in my default editor, which is Editpad Pro. I'll search for ENGB. It doesn't matter where you put this actually. It doesn't have to be in alphabetical order or anything like that. I just thought, seeing as I'm using these languages in the first place, I might as well be consistent. And I'm going to drop a couple of lines down and then copy the element and everything that's inside it, the children elements of language. So I copy that like that and then paste it in. So now I have two of these ENGBs, but I'm going to change this to 150, and notice in this case actually only the dict element is got an underscore, the ISO code has got a hyphen, so there's a little bit of inconsistency there between the files are named and what's in here, so that could be a little confusing, and you need to make sure you don't make any mistakes and you use the same naming convention for the files and for what's in here as there are for everything else. Okay, so then I remove my blank spaces. Make sure my file is still okay. It looks like it's okay. I press Control S just in case. I put a button back. I don't know if it needs it or not, but I might have lost it when I was editing that. I save that file. Copy all of the files I've got there, and then come over to this side and I just paste them in. Where's paste in here? Why haven't I got a paste in here? Okay, I'll just Control V. Replace the file in the destination. It's asking me for administrative access. I'll say yes, do this for all current items and continue. Okay, so there's my new, if I sort on by name or by alphabetical order, EN150 AF and EN150 DIC, they're all in there. And if I scroll down to the XML file, there's my XML file with a new timestamp and date, because that's a copy of what I had over here. So now if I start Studio up again, and then if I open up my file, with any luck, when I go to my Review tab, now I can check the spelling. Perfect. I'm just going to ignore all these because I'm sure they're right. But it's all working. So now I have a spell check in English Europe. And so that's how you would add a dictionary using hunspell, by selecting a dictionary of another variant that is close as possible to the one you think you want to use, and then use that as the basis for your dictionary to get started with. It might also be possible to find some hunspell dictionaries from other sources, and I think OpenOffice probably uses similar types of dictionaries, and you can use those and add those dictionaries in within Studio as well, so long as you've got the AF and DIC files and you make the appropriate changes to the config file, the XML file. So that's it. So pretty straightforward. I hope that's helpful. Have fun.